Kafka Hibino, a 30-something with a child personality that can be serious only when needed, with a strong sense to protect others. Now, I wonder where I've heard that before. Oh, it's kind of like me, except I don't have kaiju powers. Do you guys like Kafka Hibino? Who's your favorite character in Kaiju number 8? I want to know. Please let me know down below. And before we jump into this, we're going to give a little backstory about Kafka. Kafka and his childhood friend, Mina, Captain Ashino, made a pact to become the coolest captains in all of Japan's kaiju defense force. Kafka was unable to do that pact with Mina. He failed 12 times to become an officer in the defense force. Now, Kafka behaves like a child, and we first meet him, and he's working for Monster Sweepers Inc. His job is literally poop. Now, when I say literally poop, I mean it. He works as intestine duty, and to show that he's kind of childish, in the dub only, he does call it dookie duty. Now, after failing 12 times, Kafka had to go switch to this job. Now, he is now out of the age range, so he can no longer become an officer, so he had to give up on his dream. He met a new kid at work. His name is Reno. Reno wants to be a member of the defense force and is kind of a little kick in the butt to Kafka to get him to try out again now that the age has been raised to 33. So this would be Kafka's last chance. Reno and Kafka get attacked by a kaiju, and Kafka ends up saving Reno and getting hurt, and then Mina has to come in and save them, and in the hospital, Kafka eats a kaiju. We go into the main story of Kafka and who he is as a person. Now, I want to talk about Kafka's character traits. He's 32. He still behaves like a child when they are in the bath together with the other defense force. He tries to suck in all his fat to make him look bigger, and then his fat comes out when he can no longer hold in his muscle mass, so he's still joking around. After he meets Shinomiya in the parking lot because she wants the spot he's in, he gets in a little argument with her, antagonizes her, and she throws the car, and he transforms a little bit, just the parts that can't be seen, to flip. He calls her Little Missy, and in the in the sub, he calls her Kiddo, which is kind of the same thing. And then you see him fighting with Reno, trying to get him to put the nose plugs in his ears so he can do the poop duty without having to smell it as much. Vice Captain Hashina considers him the comic relief and is one of the reasons why he passes Kafka. Overall, Kafka is a goofy character. Now, even though Kafka is a goofball, there are times where he absolutely shines. That goofball demeanor turns into serious mode, a strong sense of responsibility to protect the other people in his unit. He tends to put others first rather than himself. One of the first times you see this, and he saves Reno's life. No combat suit, no kaiju killing weapons, no kaiju powers. The next time we see it is right after Kafka becomes kaiju number 8, being hunted by the team, the Defense Force 3rd Division, which he becomes a part of later. There is a little girl and her mother that are in trouble. Now he senses another kaiju and he runs to the location, killing the kaiju, leading to my favorite part of the anime, which is anime exclusive. The little girl meets Mina and says, "What about the good kaijus?" referring that Kafka is one of the good guys because he protected her and her mother. Kafka, during the test, he had the lowest unleashed power, so he was at 0%, first time in the history of the Kaiju Defense Force. So instead of getting kills to pass, he figures out that he needs to help the others by using his Kaiju knowledge. So instead of using his power that he doesn't have, or using the kaiju power that he does have, he uses his brains to help get the mission done, which also leads to why the vice captain lets him join the defense force. You see the other example when he transforms into kaiju number 8 to stop the kaiju that kaiju number 9 reincarnated to save Shinomiya's life. Now, this shows how important it is to protect others, because he could have been neutralized right there on the spot by the defense force because he's a kaiju and he risked his life to save Shinomiya gets carried to safety by Reno and Kafka. Now, Kafka also had fractures and he was really messed up, so it shows how much of a character he has to protect others, which is one thing I really love about Kafka. And the biggest and most serious moment of sense of responsibility is when Kaiju number 10 is having all the Hojus go together to form basically a nuclear blast to destroy the 3rd Division's headquarters. Without hesitation, Kafka runs in, transforms, and launches the nuclear strike from the Kaiju explosion up into the air, saving everybody in the 3rd Division. Now, he knows that this will get him killed, but he feels it's more important because everybody else risked their lives. Now it's his turn. The characters in the show think very highly of Kafka after they start seeing more and more of how responsible he is, even though he acts like a child. Reno thought he was a quitter at first, giving up on his dream, but after getting to know Kafka, he learns to respect him. Vice Captain Hashina thinks of him as the comic relief, but he says, "It wouldn't kill me to put 1% of faith into you," a reference joking to his unleashed power that he reached after, I believe, 3 months of training after getting accepted on as a cadet rather than an officer. Now, I don't want to spoil the relationship that comes on later in the manga, but go read the manga. You'll enjoy it. Now, Director Shinomiya tests him and saves his life because he believes he's the best choice to save Japan. Now, Kikuro, who is the Director General's daughter, Shinomiya, that we meet throughout the story, she has great respect for him after thinking he was just a nothing. She ends up caring deeply for Kafka, as we see throughout the story. And then the other recruits see him as his family. Aoi even calls in a favor to try to get him saved. Haruchi Izumiya calls in, or is texting his dad, who's the owner of like one of the biggest businesses for the Defense Force, everybody tries to help him out. And then the biggest one is Mina, Captain Ashina. She goes in and she gives her statement to the upper brass of the Defense Force. And she says he hates giving up and cares for others more than anyone, and he has more humility than anyone, and she believes in his heart. Overall, Kafka is a character who you can get behind and root for. He is a character that teaches you sometimes there are things more important than yourself. That it is okay to have the heart of a child, but be serious when you need to. Not to give up on your dreams and to keep working on it. A man who teaches you can use your life experience to help others. You can inspire others with the right attitude. I can relate to Kafka so much. He is truly a great MC, and I hope you guys like Kafka as much as I do. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you next time.